A lot of people want to know, how can I get more signs from my loved one in the spirit world? What ways can I make sure that they're making their presence known? And so, to really talk about this, we have to really, start to talk about expectations. Okay, myself, I don't believe in passively communicating with the spirit world, right? Where you'll find other teachers out there that do, right? It's all about meditation. It's all about going within. You can only communicate with the spirits that come to you. You can't reach out to a spirit that a specific spirit. And I find that none of that is true, but there are some people out there that believe that's the only way that we can connect. And that's what I consider passive, right? Where you have to get in some sort of altered state, or you have to meditate in order to communicate with a spirit. And if that was true, I would never be able to talk to any fucking spirit out there, because sitting still and meditating for me is painful. I have to fight a racing mind and all the thoughts in the world. Now, I do meditate in other ways, right? But it's not sitting still. And so I believe, right, and in the way that I teach everybody and the way that I communicate and my students communicate with spirits is we go right into it. There's no sitting and meditating. There's no process before you want to connect and communicate with a spirit. Boom, you're right there communicating. And that's what I call active spirit communication. And so when we're out there, when some people ask me, how can I get more signs from my loved one? My answer is, well, stop waiting for signs and actively reach out for them. Reach out to them, because when you actively reach out to your loved ones, the act of you thinking about them brings their energy and your energy closer. And if you just start to think about them and feel the energy around you, you're going to feel their presence. And once you feel their presence or their energy or their personality, whatever you want to call it, once you feel them there in the room with you, then you just kind of pinpoint where their energy is coming from. You'll feel it. You'll feel them over here, or you'll feel them in front of you, or you'll feel them touching your shoulder, and you just turn to the energy and you start talking, whatever it is. Okay. Hey guys, thanks for coming on in. Shauna, welcome. Corinna, welcome. Shauna, first time catching the live. Cool, I'm glad you're here. Glenn, what's going on, buddy? Long time no see. Chaos, welcome on in. Robert, thanks for joining. Glenn, I'm doing good. Lupe, welcome. Janelle, welcome. Tiffany, welcome. Benita says, what if my loved one may be in a lower frequency? He passed away tragically. I would love to hear from him. Well, just because your loved one, why would you believe that they're in a lower frequency? Just because they passed tragically does not mean that they're in a lower frequency. And then even if he was, what part of them is in that lower frequency? Because you got to remember one thing, Benita, is that we are more than this physical body. We are more than the energy that's in this physical body. Our energy is omnipresent. It's multidimensional. We exist everywhere. And the part that's experiencing this human experience that's in the body is just a small fraction of our energy. When the body dies, we withdraw that energy. Okay? It's like dipping your toe in a pool. Okay? When we're alive, we have our toe in the pool. When we die, we pull our toe out of the pool. So if your loved one died tragically with their toe in the pool, that doesn't mean that the whole being is in some sort of a lower frequency. Okay? There could be some compartmentalized energy that's got to work out whatever it's got to work out before it can join the rest of the energy, but you can always communicate with whatever part you desire. Okay? But there's nothing there, I don't believe that I believe in there's different realms, and not everything is all love and light, and there is some heaviness, there is some darkness to the spirit world, but it is mostly all good. Yeah. And I feel like people really jump over to the dark side of spirituality because of a lot of the stuff that religion talks about, and that is just unrealistic. Have I come across dark and heavy energy? Absolutely. Am I scared of it? Fuck no, because it's no different than you and I. And if I do sense a being that is having trouble, that might be stuck, I'm gonna help it. I'm gonna help it. I used to connect to my son all the time, but now nothing. What happened? Sherry, nothing happened, nothing changed. What's you're experiencing is what is so normal that many people that tragically lose a loved one, especially a child, experience. And you can get that connection back, and you can connect with your son anytime you want. But let me explain a little bit of what's happened, Sherry. So when we initially lose the loved one, right, the shock of it, the trauma that we go through causes us to dissociate. In other words, we leave our body. When we leave our body, we are more spirit than we are body. And we just naturally are closer to our loved ones in those moments. Okay, so it's very easy to feel them, right? Because we are not in our body, we're more in the spirit world. And so the energy, their energy, we really, really can feel it, and we're present with it. We can feel our omnipresence and one with all and one with our loved one. That's why it can be so comforting, even initially after, we experience such a tragic loss. Now, what happens is as the shock of the loss starts to wear off, and as we go through acceptance and the stages of grief, and as we begin to heal, and as we begin to come into that acceptance, we get more grounded, we come back more into our body, and now it's not something that's just happening automatically, right? It's not just something, right? Because now you're in the body. Now you got to learn how to do what you were doing naturally from a very grounded perspective, from while you're being grounded into the body. And that's everything that I teach. I don't want us to have these major dissociative moments where we have to leave our body in order to interact with the spirit world. I don't want you to have to meditate and dissociate so hard from your body that you got to connect with your loved one. I don't want anyone to experience shock and trauma in order to communicate with the spirit world. I want to show you how to do it from within the body, very grounded, to where you can just go right into it. And that's what every single piece of my content is about. It's about how you can just go right into it. Okay, and so that's what happened, Sherry. Now, if you have any specific questions on how you can connect with him, just ask them in the comments below. And all my videos talk about how to do that. Corinna says, I wish I could tell if it's my boyfriend or my parents I'm connecting with. Well, the energy feels different, right? That's what it is. Your parents are going to feel different. And so what you want to sense for is the personality, because that's what their energy is. If you're just feeling spirit energy, the way we experience spirit energy can be very similar, right? When we're talking about the hair standing up on our arms, we feel this lightness, face tingles, itchiness on top of the head, right? All of those things are just our body interacting with other energies. Now, there are some subtleties from spirit to spirit. And what you want to do is you want to feel for that spirit's personality. Even if you don't know what spirit you're in contact with, you can still feel what that spirit is specific personality is all about. And so that's how you can tell the difference, Corinna, is don't necessarily sense so much for their energy, sense for their personality. Do we meet our past loved ones again when we pass, even if it's been years later? Yes, and Shauna, and we don't have to wait to pass in order to see our loved ones again. You can do it right now here from this world, okay? But yeah, once we leave our body and we're all spirit, right, that we're no longer physical, we see and understand how easy it really was. Hello, can we talk about dreams, communicating with the ones that have passed through dreams? Yeah, absolutely. So there are a couple different types of dreams, right, that we can have. The one that gets talked about mostly in the context of spirit communication or visit loved ones are visitation dreams. And so what a visitation dream is not really a dream at all. What has happened is you have left your body and met up with your loved one in the spirit world, okay? What happens is when we fall asleep, or even when we're about to fall asleep, the conscious mind relaxes enough for us to be super receptive, okay? And that's how I want to teach you how to become anytime you want, super receptive, right? That's what I'm all about. But it naturally happens as we're falling asleep, or when we are sleeping. And so when that happens, sometimes we can leave our body and our loved ones are around us all, most of the time, right? And so you come out of your body and there they are right there, and you have this really amazing, wonderful, beautiful interaction. It feels so real. It's almost like they're not gone, right? And you can wake up from that dream and it'll be so emotional and felt so real. That's how you know with 100%, with no doubt, that it was a visitation dream, that you have left your body and met up with your loved one. Now, there's the other type of dream that doesn't carry that type of a charge with it, okay? It's, um, it's more of a sad dream, right? Or it can be more of like a flat dream. There's not enough. There's not a lot of emotion, right? So it's either flat or like kind of like a sad dream where you wake up and you're like, oh yeah, where you never have that like, oh my goodness, they're still here feeling. All right. And so what happens a lot of times when we're experiencing those types of flat dreams, it's a subconscious projection. Okay. And if you want to learn about more about subconscious projections in the dream time, you can look up Jungian dream analysis, and I could talk about it briefly here if you guys are interested in it. Just let me know in the comments. But yeah, to understand more about subconscious projections and working with our unconscious in the dream world, Carl Jung is the the man on that. Why do some spirits feel cold whereas others do not? Is it an indication of a bad spirit? No, it doesn't. It's not that the spirit feels cold, it's your response to their energy. Okay? So it doesn't really matter. You can feel hot, right? I've had hot and cold flashes, like I feel it right now. Right? I feel this super warmth coming over my back, and I just feel like I had a couple spirit guides right behind me. But no, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't. The temperature changes just mean that I call it spirit radar. It's an indicator that there's a spirit in your presence. Am I experiencing karma, or is it a bad spirit? Neither, right? There's no such, like, karma, you can break at any time. Karma, I want you to think of this. Karma, instead of saying karma, say energetic signature. What's going on in your life? What trauma have you experienced that causes you not to see the red flags and continuously make the same mistakes? That's what karma is. That is what karma is. Learn from what the cycle that you're repeating and how to identify the red flags as they come up, and then you can make a different decision. Then you break the karma, right? And bad spirits are never the source of your pain. They're never the reason your life is going a certain way. It is never because of that. Okay. All right. How do you stay grounded around crowds? Busy work, for example. How do I stay grounded? How to stay grounded around crowds? I mean, you just kind of build up to the energy, right? If you're somebody that has not been around crowds or has these affinity towards not being in big crowds, then it's going to be very difficult for you just to go right out into a crowd and be okay, right? You've got to. So when we're in the crowd, when we're in that type of energy, we are holding space and processing energy for all those around us. Like, we're processing those energies, we're sensing those energies, and it can be overwhelming. And so the best way, right? You don't need to do any protection, shields, focus, focus, focus. Any of you that have gone out into a crowd and have done that, you know it doesn't work. And if it does, it's just mildly successful, right? But the best way to be able to go out into these crowds and be okay is build yourself up to it. Don't go to like a concert with tens of thousands of people for 5 6 hours, right? Maybe go to a crowded mall for 30 minutes, right? And then, maybe go to a circus or a fair for an hour or two, right? And then build yourself up to it, right? And so you get used to channeling all of that energy, holding that type of energy throughout maintaining that in your body, right? And so that's how you can stay grounded. How do I call a loved one in? Like, what do I say? You just start thinking about them. That's it. Just start thinking about your loved one and pay attention to the energy around you. You'll feel something. You'll feel something change. That change in energy is them. Shauna, you're so welcome. What's the reason I'm constantly thinking of a loved one who has passed? Well, there's a couple reasons, right? One is you could just be thinking about them, like, and there is no coincidence. There's no reason wrong why they could be on your mind all the time. The other reason is that they could be in your energy, and you're sensing that, and you're feeling that, and unconsciously it's coming through in a way that you're just always thinking about them. So next time you find the way that you can confirm this of which one it is the next time you find yourself thinking about them, bring an awareness, or another word, focus on the energy that's around you. Just focus on a bubble, right? If you don't know how to focus on energy around you, just imagine there's a bubble around you and focus on the inside of that bubble, and you'll feel them if that is them in there with you. Rich says, I had a dream where my mother didn't speak to me, but she was there. So yeah, sometimes, sometimes that does happen. Sometimes that could be, like I talked about before, could be a subconscious projection. Sometimes they're just there kind of checking you out, and if you don't take that active role and communicate back with them or say something back to them, they're just going to sit there and look at you in awe and love you. Sometimes when I'm sleeping, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll see a figure, an orange outline figure or an actual face, and they're staring at me, or I see white wall floating. So I would just talk to them and be like, "Yo, I'm sleeping. Get the fuck out." That's one of the things is when I was starting to really actively communicate with the spirit world. I had spirit guides and all kinds of spirits waking me up in the middle of the night, or be in my room, and I would sense the presence, and I'd wake up and be like, "What the fuck?" And it would be startling, right? And so I had to set boundaries, and I'm like, my boundary is you are not allowed in my room ever, whether I'm asleep, whether I'm awake. My bedroom is boundaries. And so every now and again, I do have a spirit that doesn't know the boundary that wanders in. And if I wake up, I'll say, "Look, here's the deal. Come back tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll have a conversation. Right now, I'm sleeping. Get the fuck out." So, but listen, guys, the best way to shortcut a lot of this stuff, if you're just starting out, if you're just learning how to communicate with spirits, if you want to learn how to actively reach out to the spirit world and connect with them, then go to the link in my bio and download my free spirit communication guide. Okay. And that will give you the framework to get things started and get the ball rolling. For those of you that are a little bit more serious and want to communicate with the spirit world in a way that's undeniable, and you want to be confident in the information that you're receiving, and you really, really want to work through it and get there, then you should probably apply for my mentorship program. And the way that you do that is you schedule an interview with me, and you can do that at the link in my bio as well. So go check those things out. Other than that, I got to run, guys. I got to get on a call here in a few minutes. It was really cool connecting with you, hanging with you. Love you all. Continue to ask questions in the comments. That's what inspires my content.